Would you rather they continue on their path towards a high draft pick or make a big change? Fire Bill, bench Mac, what have you, and give the team a spark to win a few games down the stretch? And I'll answer, I'm all for firing the coach, benching the quarterback. I'm all for getting this team back. I'm all for making them watchable, not wasting my time, solving things big picture. Bill is not your future, so see if Jerod Mayo is. Mac Jones, I don't think is your future. Why don't you find out what you have in Zappe and Greer? But I'm not making moves to give this team a spark. I'm not making moves to do what the Raiders did and all of a sudden liven up, win a few games. You're not making the postseason. The Raiders, I guess, maybe could.
First, you'd have to change that roster a little bit.
You'd have to do so many things. So many things. And so, no, I'm not making a move to provide a spark and give the team life. I'm making a move for the inevitable and going to the bottom of the league, which is why I was selling at the trade deadline. No, if those are my options, then keep it up. Bravo, Patriots. Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing, and let's go right to the bottom of the league because that's the only way you're going to fix things. Talent, as Mego just said, in the form of a high draft pick. So that'd be my vote. How do you feel about it, Mego?
Honestly, I really feel the same way. You don't have to worry about tanking. Just keep what you're doing, sweetie. You're doing great. Look what Washington did. Like, as a Washington fan, I can tell you, Washington beat you, and now they're sitting at the 12th pick, and they're talking themselves into a mediocre quarterback being the, quote, quarterback of the future. His teammates and the coach who's desperately trying to keep his job over there is doing that after they sold off two of their most valuable assets, including a recent defensive rookie of the year at the trade deadline. That's a convoluted process. What you're doing is clean and straightforward, and it's still honorable because the guys are going out there and trying their best on Sundays, and maybe they're getting benched at weird times, but we don't need to question that too deeply, right? Because right now you're sitting at number 5, and you're really sitting at number 5, which is like a bump down number 4 because Chicago has 2 picks ahead of you. It goes Arizona, Chicago, the Giants. Now, it sucks that Daniel Jones tore his ACL because now the Giants, they already had an out with Daniel Jones after 2 years of the contract.
They're a live dog now, the Giants.
They're back in the hunt.
Oh,
they're back. That dog will hunt. Arizona, they're going to be throwing Kyler Murray back out there. That's interesting. Might give a little spark to that team, so maybe they bump down. Then you got Chicago. Does Chicago still want in on Justin Fields? Are they going to stay at the altar with that guy? I don't know, but either way, you have something for everybody here, something to make everybody happy. If you're still a Mac backer and you want them to roll forward with Mac, then you roll forward with Mac, and guess what you get? You get Marvin Harrison Jr., like a turnkey, ready-to-go star receiver, which is what you've been begging for years. If you're a little crybaby and you're a crybaby about everything, then you get Caleb Williams, who's a crybaby. Oh. So then you'll be at home. Maybe like me, you want just a big, classic quarterback. You get Drake May. He can do everything. And there's something there for everybody. So just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great.
Okay. You can again vote at Jones and Mego. Do you want to give the team a spark? Are you making a move to spark the team? Or do you want to continue on the path to the bottom, a.k.a. path to the pick? Arkan, how do you vote?
I'd fire Bill and I'd bench Mac. I would do that. I would do that. And it's not because I think, the spark's going to get them to the playoffs or anything or that they're going to be some better team. I understand it'll probably knock them out of, I don't know, maybe the top 5 that they're in right now. But if they're 5th right now, May's going to be gone. Williams is going to be gone. Harrison's going to be gone. You're not getting any of those guys if you're 5th. I'm sorry. I just don't see that. So if you're sort of looking at the rest of the draft, I feel like if you're 6-11, it's not going to be that different from being 4-13. And if that's really the difference here, then I'd move on from Bill. I'd move on from Mac or whatever it is that you want to do there at the quarterback position, and I'd start building for that future because I think your future of a top 5 pick is probably not going to come true. I just don't.
So, look, I'm with you on this. I don't think firing Bill sparks the team. Like, the Raiders won last week. That doesn't mean the Raiders are never losing again.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't?
They're smoking cigars after, like, one dumb win over a trash-ass team whose quarterback was hurt and then got even more injured. Like, Daniel Jones wasn't healthy. Did you see how he tore his ACL?
Yeah.
He was running around. Nobody touched him. Forget non-contact. He was, like, standing there, and he crumpled into a heap. So, like, they beat that team, and they're smoking cigars like they won a national title. You won a game, a singular game. And so maybe it sparks you for a week. So I am with Arkan on this, like, fire Bill and bench Mac. Like, what? All of a sudden you're going to be a playoff team? All of a sudden you're never going to lose again? But the premise of the question, the spirit of the question is you're doing it to provide a spark. Robert Kraft is doing it to wake his team up. I do it to wake up the fan base. I do it to send a message to forget the team. Season's over. Forget the team. I don't want most of these players back. I don't want any of these coaches back. Like, I pretty much just want to hitch my wagons to Christian Gonzalez, and that's it. So I don't want anyone in that locker room back. I don't want any of the coaches back. I want my fans. I don't want to lose my fans and have them abandon ship and jump to the Celtics, who finally lost last night, or jump to the Bruins, who keep on winning. Or maybe if the Red Sox, heaven forbid, ever actually do anything, start paying attention to them. I don't want to lose market share. I don't want empty seats at Gillette. So I do it as a message to my fans that I haven't given up. Because what Robert Kraft is doing is not that different than John Henry. He's Robert Kraft just in person, sitting there watching the games. That's the only difference. Otherwise, he's basically John Henry. He's John Henry in person at the games. You can see him on TV, but he's abdicating and passing on doing anything exactly like John Henry did. John Henry didn't do anything at the trade deadline. They stood pat and didn't do anything. Kraft did the same thing. And so I'd worry about that if I were Kraft. That'd be the reason to do the firing and or a benching, not to provide a spark.
So I hear that, but how long will that take you? So if you fired Bill Belichick after the Indianapolis game in Germany in the bye week, which is something that Ben Volin tweeted in the Boston Globe last week, if you do that, then you come out of the bye week and maybe you have Jerod Mayo as the interim head coach and he's doing a little audition for everybody. And that's enough to put butts back into seats because they want to say, oh, we love Jerod Mayo. We loved him as a player. We loved him on quick slants. Let's see what Jerod does as a leader of men. And that's a reason to go to the games. And then you go, like, at best 2-2 over the next 4 weeks. And then it's like a Christmas Eve game in Denver.
That'd
and
be a
people
huge
half
improvement.
watching it with eggnog.
I don't know that it gets people to show up. I mean, hopefully
if they play
what's
better,
the
it will.
point?
So hopefully it's just people won't disengage and forget about your team.
Isn't that what they're looking for, though? For their season ticket holders to keep going to the games and being invested in the product?
You know how you get season tickets? You get people interested in talking about your team and paying attention to your team and not ignoring them for the next 2 months.
And hey, look, they won 2 games after they fired the coach. Maybe you got something.
So
don't we want to see what we have with Jerod Mayo, too, by the way?
Yes, I want to see that. And I also want to know if Bill was the problem. Like, if they respond like the Raiders responded, you're like, holy crap, they hated McDaniels. What if the Patriots have a similar game after they fire Bill? You're like, oh, wow, Bill really was a massive, massive part of the don't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know?
Of course it's intriguing. Of course there's a part of me that feels that way. I look at it, and I also look at the interim coach situation. How many interim coaches have gone on to be able to prove themselves in that status as being a really meaningful head coach? Like, the one that jumps out at me recently is Jason Garrett with the Cowboys, and he wasn't a good head coach.
No.
And he was somebody who was elevated from interim. And so maybe it's just more of an incrimination of, hey, the guy you throwing in at interim coach is just an assistant and he's not ready for that role.
Yeah.
But I think it's different with somebody like Jerod Mayo, who they've seemingly been grooming for years and trying to keep around.
Good. Sink or
and
swim.
so maybe he deserves his own team.
Sink or swim,
instead
Jerod.
of taking over the dregs of an injured and totally disengaged team.
Sink or swim. You're going to get your chance. If they lose in Indianapolis, you might get your chance, Jerod. So don't screw it up. And that's not who I want as the next coach anyway. So let's see what he has. If he gives them life, maybe he keeps the job. You're coaching for your job next year, too.
How do you tell life from just the dead cat bounce?
Well, dead cat bounce is 1 week. You keep it going after that. Like this, Antonio Pierce got the dead cat bounce from the Raiders. Mm-hmm. If they keep it going, there's something more there. That's what I would say. 617-779-7937. How should the Patriots proceed going forward? Are you making a move? Firing Bill, benching Mac to attempt to provide a spark, find something out about your team? Or do you just keep tanking, going down to the bottom of the league, hashtag path for the pick?